Today we're looking at remaining sane amidst chaos. So here's the exercise that I ask you to grab a pen or paper or pencil with a piece of paper. I'd like for you to draw a house. And if you have already sat in a session with me with this exercise, there's a different component to it. So I'm going to ask you to still draw the house. Draw a house. It can be basic or detailed, however you want it to be. That's fine. There are no stipulations really, except that I'd love for you to label that house with some of your values, things that you value. And maybe you're wondering, okay, what do you mean by that? So I'm going to go, I keep turning my mouse the wrong way. I'm going to go to explain this. Now, as you notice, I took this directly from Ethics Age because I found that it captured everything I wanted to say about values. And so this is what they wrote on their website. Values are basic and fundamental beliefs that guide or motivate attitudes or actions. Values help us to determine what is important to us. Values describe the personal qualities we choose to guide our actions, right? So they're personal qualities that we choose in order to become them, to employ them in a way to guide our actions. It's the sort of person that we want to be. Values have to do with the manner in which we treat ourselves and others and our interaction with the world around us. So they provide general guidelines for conduct. That's what we're talking about. So again, here's the exercise. Draw the house and label it with some of your values based on what we just defined. So this is what I'm saying about values. Values are useful in how we approach life. Values help us in the decisions we make in life. So if there are things we value, people we value, particular behavior, ethics, whatever it is that we value, these are critical to us in how we make our own decisions. They determine the life that we choose or settle with. Notice that sometimes we choose a certain life, and even if we settle for it, we choose it, but we do not choose it because it is meaningful. We choose it as a means of just settling. We're not disturbing anything. We're just settling with it. Those are values. That's why we stick to it. There are underlying values to that. Values are foundational. They're foundational to behavior, even when we are not really aware of them, right? So we find ourselves doing things that you wonder why you do certain things. It's because beneath that, there is a core value attached to that. It is serving a purpose. It is working for you in somewhere and in some way, and therefore that behavior continues, right? So this is our current chaos. We're in a situation where we're still in a pandemic, right? The last 12 months have been challenging for many of us. I probably can be daring enough to say for most of us. We have all been experiencing COVID in different extremes, right? So do not judge yourself by anyone else's standard. And that is why I have asked you in this exercise to draw your house, any house. Draw a house, can be detailed or simple, label it with some things that you think or that you believe to be your values, right? Do not judge yourself or your house by the neighbor's house, okay? Literally, because we're different. I've said this over and over. I've been hammering this point, and I'll say to us that we are predisposed to different things because of our biosocial contributors. They add to us how you were born, how you were raised. It is an argument that we cannot run away from. It is our reality. It is who we are, right? So it's important that when you look at someone else dealing with their chaos and they are calm, they're never flustered, they don't seem to be anxious or worried about anything, and then you begin to self-hate because you're wondering, why am I so flustered and this person is calm and we're going through the same thing? Your makeup is different. Your makeup, your whole genetic makeup is different, and how you were raised is still different. And even if you came out of the same house, you were raised at different periods in your guardian or parents' lives, and therefore you will attract a certain kind of nurturing. You probably got that. That's very different from what your sibling had, right? Or the person raised, or the charges raised in your home, right? So always remember that you are starting where you are. Your race starts at your point, not the other person's point. And some people are 6 steps ahead. That's okay. We have to be at a place where when we're experiencing chaos, we remember that the way we experience it have lots to do with what we are already predisposed with. Okay? So I'm not going through all the details of those things. We've gone through that. So I thought today that I would lay out to you the term as it is, sanity. How do we remain sane in chaos? And this very acronym, you're not going to find this in any book. Well, who knows? I probably need to trademark my acronyms by now. But this is my acronym for maintaining a healthy and stable mind in situations of chaos and crises. You have to stick to your values. We talked about the values, right? If your values are, having a good education, maybe seeming like the perfect family to the world, maybe having every penny saved while you are starving at home. If your values are your children, so you invest everything and you only see your life through them and you have no identity without them. If your value is your husband, your wife, that spouse, that your whole life is wrapped in theirs, and when someone sees them, they see you only through them. Whatever you value, if it's your job, if it is the status that you have, the title that you wear, then that's exactly what's going to determine how you move forward in life, how you behave, how you treat others, how you employ the very ambiance around you. So I want to say to you, as you go through any crisis, any chaos, stick to your values, because what you believe is important to you is what's going to help you to keep sane in those moments. If you try to wear someone else's values, it's like wearing someone else's shoes. They don't always fit. And even if it's the same size, you know how it is with a new pair of shoes. It takes time to break in. You have to wear it, your own feet, break it in, getting it to form with the mold of your feet. That's kind of like what values are. So you have to shape, those have shaped your life, your situation. It's important that you stick to the things that you consider to be important. So I remember years when I served back in Jamaica at Heart Trust. Often I would talk about values with our trainees. And one of the examples I used a lot is that, okay, if your values are really just about, one of the value is that you want to make a lot of money. Well, how do you plan to do that? Because you can make it quick and fast, or you can go through the process of working and laboring, and eventually it's like a seed. It grows and it bears and it produces for you. Because quick and fast could put you in a spot where every siren sound makes you afraid. You can't sleep, even though it's an ambulance or a fire truck. And if you live in a country like I do now, oh my God, for every sound, every movement, there is a fire truck, an ambulance, every accident, every near miss, everything. Like as soon as there's a stop on the highway, stuff like that. So every time you hear a siren, when your value is to earn money at whatever cost, illegal or not, if that's a value, then every siren is going to give you anxiety or heart failure, even if it's an ambulance taking someone to the hospital. But if your values would be, yes, I want to earn that in a pace that is honest and fair and just, so I will labor for it and I will do whatever, then whether it's a fire truck or an ambulance or a police vehicle, you don't need to worry about a siren because you have nothing to fear. Your values are honesty and fairness and trust, right? And so values affect what we do. So stick to your values, because that's what's going to work for you. I want to say to you with the S as well, set your boundaries. Set your boundaries. It's important. People will set boundaries for you if you don't set boundaries for yourself. People will, if you don't know what you stand for, then you're going to fall for everything that someone presents to you, everything they sell you, every idea they bring to you, everything that comes before you. You say, oh yeah, that is good. Oh yeah, that is good. Oh yeah, that is good. You have to set your own boundaries. And that was a little tongue twister for me for some reason. But understand that your boundaries define your values. And so people can say anything, do anything, propose anything. When you know your boundaries, it's like when you have your land, your property, and you set up your boundaries, whether it's barbed wire fence or picket fence or nice wall made of blocks and strong standing stability and things that give you that protection, they're boundaries. You are setting your own boundary, and that is important. Do not allow anyone to push you over what is considered your boundary, right? Set your boundaries. When you set your boundaries, you're at a place where you can, and I call this slay your demons. Slay your demons with your truth. I've said it here before, I'll say it again, I've said it in my book. When you speak your truth, no one else can take it and tell you. Nobody else. No one else can throw it at you as a means of using it to hurt you, because that is what you already put out there. Hey, that's no news. I give you the news. I set the boundary as to how much of my news I want you to know. So I put that out there. When you put your boundary out there, you protect yourself from what anyone else could use. What are they going to use? The same things the same truth that you already speak. That's your truth. They're borrowing you. They're quoting you, and they can't quote you to hurt you. Right? So slay your demons with your truth, the truth of who you are. That's what's going to keep you sane in times of chaos. You know who you are, you know your integrity, your value, your identity, and you know what boundaries, what you stand for, right? That's important. That's where you start. So this is the beginning of the acronym for sanity. A, I want you to know that activities are important for you to keep doing. Activities keep you grounded. So if you get up feeling like, you don't even know what your values are, you are so anxious, you have lost it, you don't even know who you are anymore, your own identity, and you become lost in that thinking pattern, then you find yourself just going into these dark places and you lose truth of who you are. Keep yourself engaged, stay active, do things that will create a change in your posture and new meaning to you. They will be formed within the context of your values. So if you like activities, if you like to help people, if that's a value for you, you like to give back to people, you like to serve, like I do here. I've had the craziest weekend. And one of the easiest things I could have done was to say, okay, we don't need to do this wellness session today because it's been a crazy weekend. Some of you were already with me even yesterday for another presentation. And it was, but activities, when you give back, when you do things, when you get involved, when you live life just outside of yourself, do things to benefit others as well. Or even if it's for yourself, get up and do something. Instead of laying down, pining away, feeling sorry for yourself, get up, take a walk, maybe cook and share your meal with someone. Maybe decide to read a book. You haven't done that for so long. How long have you ever, really sat and watched a movie with your family? Stuff like that. Do activities that can impact you positively and have even a greater impact on others around you, right? So they keep you grounded. Because we know the saying, the devil finds work for idle hands. If you stay just distressed in where you're at, in the chaos, losing your mind and doing nothing, then it's not healthy or helpful in that moment. The end. Have what is considered a no tolerance policy for negativity. And listen, I make no apologies about this. Do not tolerate negativity. And when I say do not tolerate it, I mean do not tolerate it. Everyone has a certain trigger. I cannot determine your trigger. But if I know my trigger well enough, I set boundaries around my trigger. So if my trigger is every time I come in front of this person, or I see them, or I whatever, if that is a trigger, then the aim for me to set my boundary is to, as much as possible, as much as lies within me, I'm going to try to avoid that trigger. Right? So you don't go to be in the presence of this person every day, and maybe you can't help it based on where you are. You try to lessen the conversations then. Or if it's taking you into a place where it's going to get you to be triggered and hot-headed and lose your cool, and it is bad, it's a bad space for you. You have to know what works for you and do not tolerate negativity around you. Right? Your values, at least my values, is that I can't thrive in negativity. And so if that is in your space, in my space, then I'm not going to progress. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to thrive. So have no tolerance for negativity. I indulge in what is wholesome and what benefits you, right? That's important. It must be wholesome. It must be benefiting you in some way. It must be working for you. Indulge in those things that work for you. So if there's a good friend and it works for you, indulge yourself in that. If there's an activity that really works for you, it benefits you, it makes you feel sane in your mind, then let that work for you. If there's an activity, a job, a particular skill, whatever it is, if it's benefiting you, then let it work for you. If it's not benefiting you, then it's time to change something. But indulge yourself in what is wholesome and benefiting for you. Again, not for the neighbor, not your best friend, not the newfound person who moved in down the street. None of these things. It's what benefits you. It's about you staying sane. T, take time to pray. To pray over every matter, whether you consider yourself to be religious or spiritual or indifferent or nothing at all, whether you believe in a God or whoever you consider him to be, take time to pray, ponder over matters, put them out to a sphere that is bigger than yourself. For me, that is the Lord Jesus Christ. That is Jehovah God. That pray over every single matter. Don't just run into it because you feel very comfortable. Oh, this is just up my street. I'm so good at this. Pray over every matter. Commit it to a force, to a God that's bigger than yourself, because every person is limited to themselves. And the Creator is bigger than us all. So commit yourself, your situation, the chaos, to God. Pray over it. Take time to put it to God in prayer, right? And everybody has a different way and idea about praying. I know traditionally we are taught to kneel and to commit whatever. Prayer is a constant, everyday relationship with God. My greatest ideas come when I'm in the shower. Other ideas come in my sleep. I wake up because the ideas were just, it's like I'm dreaming them. It's a constant life of prayer. So at 3 and 4 a.m., I have 3 journals on my bedside table, and I write in them because I am supposed to have access at any time in the wee hours of the night to write down the thoughts and the ideas, because my life is a constant prayer. It's a value for me, prayer. I pray every day. I pray when you see my mouth open and when you don't see it open. My mind is always going over with a prayer, constantly talking to God. Well, I guess this was since I was a kid. And I know I have some of my sisters online. But that's one of the things my mother used to come in the room and find me sleeping with my hands in the air, praising, and I'm praying in my sleep. But that for me is a value. That is something that would be on my house because I'm a person of prayer. So I say to you, take time to pray over every matter. It doesn't mean that you have to kneel down over every matter. It doesn't mean you have to wait till Sunday morning to be over every matter. As you process it, let a prayer surround it. Lord, I'm going into this meeting right now. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't even know if I want to be here. I know my triggers are here, but I commit this to you. I know right now it is such a high, hot tempered situation for me. I wish I wasn't here. I'd rather leave than be here. It is chaotic for me. It's dysfunctional. It's unhealthy, but I commit it to you. Go before me. Be my guide. Let me hear your voice. Speak peace over me. Whatever it is, it's your prayer. Let it be a way of life for you in your situation. Because when you take time to pray over matters, it brings your thoughts into a different arena. It's important to observe your thoughts. This is also critical for the T. Our thoughts are what drive us into chaos and despair. Thoughts, not situations, thoughts. Right? So I spoke with you over and over already on this platform about what I call the T effect. Your thoughts drive your emotion, which drives your action. T-E-A, thought, emotion, action. It's important that you take time to observe your thoughts because it's the thought, it's what you think about the situation that made you feel that way. If someone said something and you didn't think about it that way, didn't mean anything. So you went on your merry way and your action would be joy and happiness and peace and you're excited. But if you think something about it, then it made you feel a certain way about it. Sad, rejected, depressed, angry, irritable. And that negative emotion drives you into the same action. So you begin to mope, you're not talking to anyone, you're not showing up for work, you're not going back to church, whatever it is. So take time to pray over matters and to observe your thoughts. And the why. You are shaping your story. So even when the chaos is like a tornado around you, you are shaping your story. And this is a line I have in my online course, and I want to say to you today, your story is your power, right? You're shaping not somebody else's story, your story. Every move you make, every step you take, every decision that you make is shaping your story. So why are we so caught up with what others think of us? We are shaping a story for other people. It's your story. And only you can write your story. And only you can make your story as powerful as it can be. Because your story is your power, right? So we want you to remain sane in the chaos. This was my COVID experience when that chaos started. I lost my job 2 months into COVID. So by the end of May, I lost my contract. Now, my book talks about where I was before that, in a secure job, lovely benefits, amazing, everything was good, working well. And then I took a job that was close to home for various reasons. And sure enough, because I came on in a contract position at that time, that situation made me now one of the newest members of staff. And when COVID hit, things changed in that place. And I was one of the first persons to be let go. Wow. Wow. That was a shocker and a chaotic moment for me. I have a history, I should say, an experience of having at least 3 jobs at any given time. That was my life. I worked full-time in a place and I served part-time in different colleges, universities, places, lectured privately, tutored people privately. I had that. And even here, when I moved to this country, had a full-time job, did some independent work in private practice, doing other things, doing ministry. There was always something else. Here I found myself on my face with absolutely no saving to write home about, nothing to talk about, because many transitions had taken place and I was basically broke and I lost my job in all of that. But in that situation, my sanity that I just shared with you, sticking to your values, slaying your demons, taking time to do activities, just sticking to having a no tolerance for negativity, indulging myself in something meaningful that could keep me in positive thinking, observing my thoughts, taking time to pray about a distressing situation, and knowing that it was my story, that's my power. I wrote this book. And in 5 months when I wrote this book, published in the 6 month, self-published, this book made bestseller on Amazon in 5 different categories, was #1 new release on the .com site in 8 different categories. This book, within a month of its launch, it had made this an achievement out of a time that was chaotic and painful and distressing, depressing for me. But you have to use your skills of sanity to maintain that in that situation. That was an achievement. Some of you were with me last night and you joined me in the launch of this ministry, Haven of Healing Ministries, a place where the wounded are mended, redefining the way we do ministry. That's finding greater purpose even in COVID. I can only share my story with you because my story is my power. Your story is your power. So what is the formula for sanity? The formula I have always used, is that you plus God equals majority. So the I plus the God in whom I believe and serve will definitely equal for me majority. They say you and God are enough for anything, for any situation. And I want to remind someone of that today. This is a text that transformed my life some 2 years ago. A text I knew by heart, preached it, did so many things, studies around this. But 2 years ago, as I read this from the Message, it hit home in a way that transformed the way I saw life and everything else around me. It says here, the story in St. Luke 9 is about Jesus sending his disciples out. And he sent them to go and to minister. He sent them 2 by 2. He called them together and he said, listen, I'm sending you out as sheep among wolves. I'm sending you out, commissioning you to go and win people for the kingdom. Hear this. He says, take nothing for the journey. And any place that you go, you enter into and they don't receive your word, take your peace from it, brush the very dust from your feet and move on. We're not crying over losses. We're not crying over things that shoulda, coulda, woulda. Take your peace. Take your sane mind and step aside and leave them to whatever the situation is. And when I read this in the Message, hear what it says. He said, don't load yourselves up with equipment. So all the things you take on from what everybody says, you should be this, oh, you need to do this, and you take everybody's advice till you don't even know who you are. So many of us have lost our identity trying to be the Joneses and the Browns and the Smiths, and forgive me when I use those names for those of you with the name, just as it said. We're not keeping up with anyone, we're keeping up with ourselves. We're in competition with no one else but ourselves. But hear this. Jesus said to his disciples, keep it simple. You are the equipment. You. It's not what you carry. It's not where you come from. It's not all the baggage and the loads and the people and the battalion of friendships and whoever. No. Everything you need for your journey is already deposited in you. You are the equipment. You. Not the people coming with you. Not those who are hearing you. Not those who are trying to sway you. You are the equipment. So you plus God equals a majority. You're already a surplus because you have it in you to create sanity for success. So where do you go next? I want to say to you, this is how you stay sane. This is how you stay sane. In addition to the coping skill of sanity with that acronym, use your S to shape your behavior one step at a time. One step. So in June, the beginning of June, when I had no job June 1, because my contract ended effective June 1. Last day was May 31st. When it hit me that I needed, okay, I could tell my story. My story is my power. My God, I have been through so much over the last couple of years. How can this make sense? It didn't make sense to me. It was like what the only thing I had was just me plus God, the assurance in my faith. And so when I decided, okay, I'm going to write this book, I was challenged at the time by my own 8-year-old daughter. I said, it's important to shape the behavior. So the first week in June, I didn't know what I was going to do. I slept. I slept for the entire week. Man, it felt good. It felt good to not have to get up at 5 in the morning. I used to go 5 to the gym, by 5:30, get back by about 6:15 to see my son off to school, to get him up at 6:30 so he could catch the bus. So my system was in from a 5 o'clock wake up. And then once he goes off to school, I get my 8-year-old ready for school. And then I am at my desk for 8:15 for the first meeting at 8:30. And I lived that for years. So the first week in June, I slept. I slept like nobody's business. I was tired. I was happy to be sleeping. But the second week, when I remember the proverb that a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, and poverty will come to you, I needed to do something. And so in that moment, I decided to shape the same behavior. I had to get up at 5, and I got up at 5 every single morning for a month. And the first morning 3 hours, I wrote the entire book in terms of what is called the mind map. Everything you want in it, I did that. And the next 29 days, I wrote the entire 7 chapters in that book. And then I used the other months to go through and edit. But you have to shape behavior. Shaping behavior means one step at a time. You must be consistent and keep doing it. At first, it's not making sense. When I put the first thing down on paper, I'm like, oh, nobody's going to read this. Oh, who wants to hear my story? Oh my God, who's going to ever? It's not going to sell. It's not. All the self-sabotaging things that come to us in those moments, they came to me as well. But shape your behavior. And if you're getting up 5 or 6, don't do it one morning and then you stop and say, this is not, keep at it. Shaping behavior means taking small steps every single day to keep your goal going and in mind. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So in 6 months, I self-published. I didn't even know how to do that before. And the book has achieved and is doing well. And it continues to impact life. That for me is the greater good than even the money that could be made from it. There's no money made really, but it's impacting lives. And that's what's important. That is the success. The success is that it's written. That's it. You have so many dreams inside of you, but you're being inconsistent with the patterns to achieve it. It's not going to happen if you do it 5 days and stop. It's like going to the gym. You start a whole month and you go, and after that you don't go back. So every muscle that you gained in that time now turn fat, and you put on more weight than before you went to the gym. You have to stay consistent and shape the behavior. A, take action that is important to transform dreams into reality. That's what I did. That's what I continue to do. I want to continue to impact whether I'm doing it from my basement office here or if I was working for someone 9 to 5. And I'm at a place where I will make no apology for my growth or progress because I went to hell and back. And now I have the flexibility to stay sane in all this chaos. And more than that, to work for myself, to work late hours, work early mornings, but I'm doing that for myself. And that is what it took when you are broken and you go to the lowest and there's no further to go. It can only be up from here. That's how you stay sane in chaos. So make no apologies for your growth and your progress. And when things are going well for you because you have labored to be there. And E, enjoy the works of your hands and your labor. play a little, laugh a little, binge watch Netflix, do something, because you deserve to take the break. So as you move forward in this chaos, shape your behavior. Make certain that it is leading towards your goal. Take actions that are deliberate. If it's not a part of what's going to help you to achieve the goal, you don't need to be involved in it. If hanging out with somebody is not getting you anything, why do you go? How do you benefit? Don't waste time on things that don't matter. And do not apologize for the progress and the growth that you have, because you have spent years laboring for it. It's not just now the seed was planted. The seed was planted years ago. You're just now sprouting and having the impact, and enjoy. So for those of you who earlier I said, if you wanted to contact me for the course or anything else, some of you know this by heart. This has been on for months. You contact me at KarenAlthea@yahoo.com, or you can always visit my website at KarenAlthea.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Karen Althea. Psychology Today, which is a professional website, you can find me there, Karen Althea. And you can find me in my book, Rise, Transforming Pain into Pillars of Strength.